Okay, I'll start with the basics. SAP is typically called Systems, Applications, and Programming. It's an ERP system. Sometimes it's also called off-the-shelf system. So somebody wrote all the business processes and business logic in an application, and companies just install it and start using it. Just like your QuickBooks, Peachtree, any other, software. And about 60% of the SAP's revenues come from oil and gas industry. So the large companies here locally, Exxon, Chevron, Statoil, Aramco, Shell, Marathon, Hess, and Arco all use Halliburton. They all use SAP, some form or shape, some level. Okay, you came for the demo. And a lot of people ask me what kind of jobs does SAP provide. SAP provides pretty much everything, and their broad areas are operational, functional, and technical. Operational means you're a business user, you're using SAP to perform a business operation. For example, if you're a supply chain expert, you're actually creating a contract for a vendor, you're creating a PO for a vendor, you are actually processing an invoice from a vendor. If you're an HR person, you're actually registering a new employee. If you are a finance person, you're closing the books. You're running the balance sheet. If you're a senior manager, you're running you can come here too. Bring it here.
Is that okay? I put it here?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Right, so there are a lot of different job functions in SAP: operational, functional, and technical. Okay, operational, as I said, you're creating a vendor contract, you're moving stuff from one place to another place, you're doing the plant transfer, checking the inventory, you're creating an employee, you're retiring an employee, you're firing an employee, you're running a balance sheet, you're looking at operational statistics, you're looking at your cost base for your company. So you're running, it could be a manager, it could be a VP, it could be a junior level accounts payable person, it could be any level operational, it could be from top to bottom. Okay? I mean, maybe when I say bottom, I mean, the lower level salaries typically in the Houston area or in the southern area, Texas area, typically start around 60 to 80K operational. And there are pretty much entry level jobs. They expect maybe 3 to 4 years of experience and a degree, and degree that relates to you. That's why I always ask, what is your degree? Because they're pretty picky on what is your degree, and why are you coming in and working, for my company. Especially for full-time jobs. And if you have a U.S. degree, that'll always help, like an MBA or a supply chain management degree, or something from Rice or University of Houston or A&M in local schools. So they very good entry level point. They will not ask you any SAP questions, hard questions. They'll just say, hey, tell me about your degree, what class have you taken, what do you know about the industry, just to making sure that your IQ, general IQ is good, and you're able to perform a job, and if you're a good learner, things like that. And then you can kind of move up the chain in the operational. You can become a manager, director, VP, and you kind of stay in that area, in the operational area. And there's no limit how much you can make, right? You can just go as long as you want in there. And then typically, for most part, what we get here is, say, I do get a lot of operational people. Say, I got a job, people already found a job, and they're joining the job in 15 days, and they want to brush up SAP. I get a lot of people like that. And they also get a lot of functional people, means they want to be a consultant, means they want to go into the industry and become a consultant and solve their business problems. That's like the most jobs are. I mean, I would say 60% of the jobs locally arrive in that functional area. We call it the consultant, and you need both. You need a little bit of operational experience and a little bit of SAP experience and some technical knowledge. You need to combine from both sides, because you're solving a business problem and you're working with the technical people, making the configuration change, and being able to speak with the operational people. So you require a broad area of expertise in that functional area. Salaries are very good. You can work an hourly, $150 an hour, $200 an hour, or even 200K, 250K. I mean, it's kind of wide, broad area. And that's like the most challenging area and most demanding area. I mean, you may have to travel for that Monday to Thursday. And then even if you get into a job, people expect a lot from you in that area. And then it's a technical area. It means you need to have a MIS degree, you need to have an IT degree, you need to maybe some coding, ABAP, again, all of these modules such as BI, BOBJ, HANA, PI, which is TIBCO, Informatica, Mobility, Android, Java Bean Shell scripting, C# scripting, BASIS, Unix administration, network administration, network architecture, backups, recovery, archives, disaster recovery, security. All those things fall in the technical silo. Okay, means you're going to be working on your own. You pretty much very little interaction with the operational users. You don't need to know how the company is run. You don't need to kind of know the business side of the things. You just kind of work with the technical people and you stay on the technical side. Still pretty good salaries, 100 to 150K range, and still I mean, still a lot of jobs in the technical area also. Most of the jobs tend to be outsourced in that area, mostly to India and mostly to Russia, to Argentina. So you may be losing out jobs to offshore people, if you stay in that area. That's your competition, really. But it doesn't mean everything is done offshore, because there are some people needed here also. Functional, it's very difficult to offshore those things. It can be, but it's kind of challenging because you're, with the users here, you're solving a business problem. So it's kind of rather difficult to offshore, I would say. And operational always going to be here. Again, you're just front facing. It's an 8 to 5 job. You get to take a bus, go home, good work-life balance. So there are challenges in every aspect of those things. In the functional operational side, you have SAP FICO typically needs an accounting degree or an MBA degree. You need to know the terms like balance sheet, income statement, profit and loss. You need to know depreciation, amortization. You need to know the basic accounting and finance. Okay, and then comes the HCM, human capital management. So again, you probably have had work in benefits. What are the legal requirements of hiring an employee? What are the paperwork I need to file when I hire an employee? What are the benefits I need to pay? How are the healthcare, insurance, work for that particular guy? What is the, social security taxes? What are the Medicare taxes? What are the, you need to know all that, employee, kind of stuff. And there is SCM, supply chain management. It's kind of broken down into 3. There is LO, SD, and there's logistics. And there is sales and distribution. There is materials management. Materials management is inbound, where you're doing the vendor management, the sourcing, contracts, materials, buying materials from the vendors, getting the invoice from the vendors, creating a PO, and also the SD, which is the customer-facing side, creating the customer, sending him an invoice, taking the sales order, shipping the material back to him. There's also logistics portion of it, transportation, shipping, packing, all that, routes, the routes optimization. So all those things fall in the logistics area. And there is the core manufacturing component, QM, PM. QM is quality management, production planning, plant maintenance, and there's manufacturing side of those things. There's a lot of manufacturing base there. At the very bottom, you have, I would say, industry solutions exist. Instead of saying SAP, I would say here, I would go back here and say say SAP IS T's something like that. Okay. There are industry solutions, but they still use the other modules. Okay, there is no such thing as IS oil module. There is no such thing as IS auto module. They use the existing framework, but they kind of customize the module to kind of fit their industry needs. For example, if FICO, still FICO, but IS oil tailors FI to fit to the oil and gas industry. Same thing, they take and fit to the oil and gas industry. And typically, these are really not dependent. Well, they may be. You could have an ISOL dashboard. You could have an ISOL mobility application. You could have an ISOL PI integration. I mean, you could have some specialties here as well. Yeah, you could have, if you're a basis, you have to install that ISOL plugin and things. Okay, and then these are all of the general components, how they all interact. At the very center of the universe is your FICO, where all the transactions, accounting transactions, financial transactions coming from different modules. If you're buying inventory from the vendor, you create a vendor, and you're purchasing something from the vendor is shipping you the goods, and the value of the inventory needs to go up in your FICO, and it means you debit the inventory account, so it sends a record to FI saying that, hey, my inventory needs to go up. I bought pipes, and my inventory needs to go up. And the pipes probably came in, you probably paid freight, customs, discounts, royalties, you probably paid a lot of other charges. So that the transactions finally end up in FICO. And is where the materials are stored. You can have materials for, if you're an HP, your materials could be your printer components, your printer drums, your electronic components, your chipsets, the plastic racks, if you're an oil and gas company, it could be your pipes, drill bits, safety goggles, or it could just be office supplies, it could be computers, printers, any materials, any stuff that you're buying from anybody is in the module. And then once you buy stuff, vendor is going to send you an invoice are processed in accounts payable, and then accounts payable creates a liability record, and then those are entered in your FICO. And if you go on the opposite side, it's sales and distribution module. And if you're an Amazon, if you're buying stuff, you're buying a laptop, buying an oil filter, buying your vacuum filter, you're buying sunglasses, anything under the sun, your music systems, earphones. You order it. Amazon has a warehouse. They will create a sales order to the warehouse guy. The warehouse guy looks at the order. He picks the stuff, packs in a box, sticks the label, puts it in a UPS, and sends it. And customer gets a notification with his tracking number. So all the logistics of getting the sales order, putting in the box, what is the optimum route, how fast it needs to get, UPS ground, FedEx, overnight, international, domestic, all the outbound logistics fall in that SD module. Who are your customers, what is your geographical location, who is your salesperson, who's your sales contact, who's your sales organization, distribution point, all that fall in that SD AR area. Okay. Let me add a few more modules here. So this is called your CRM module or Salesforce, something like that.
Is another one supply network collaboration?
There are quite a bit. There are, yeah, you could have a lot of these things. You could have SMC, supplier networks. You could have all your manufacturing, things, PP, PM, QM, etc. which are really not connected anywhere here. Kind of hard to draw all these modules that kind of gives you, Salesforce.com CRM, where the initial customers are created, customer leads are generated, deals are created, and then that kind of goes into the real customer. It's like the pre-sales kind of area. This is the real sales area, and this is actually customer is ordering stuff from you and actually invoicing the customer. This is the kind of real money that comes in. Same thing here. You have some initial due diligence with the vendor. You're creating quotations. You're doing the bidding and all those things. They're not the real vendors. Once you win the bids, they become the vendors and they start supplying the materials. And then you kind of use the SNC to see your supply routes, where are your plans, and how quickly you need to get them, get the material to your plants, and what are the optimal ways of getting, the routes in different countries, and the planning aspect of those things. Okay. And here you have all your management, SEO, CFO, and shareholders who are looking for information. And how does this is all information, right? Your MM is information, AP, FI, ER. So there are information kind of buried in all these different modules. How does information get to the right people? And it needs to flow through all these different modules one way. Some pieces are connected and some pieces are not directly connected. So that's where the PI comes into play. That's where the the TIBCO comes into play, because information is kind of disjointed. They need to be transformed and sent to a central location. So the central location happens to be this guy, BI. But before it gets to BI, there could be layers information. There could be Informatica here. There could be TIBCO. There could be PI. All these lines you see, they're not like straight lines. There could be like some data transformation going on in those lines. So that's where the TIBCO comes into play. So you bring this information from all these different things, you transform the data in a way the BI and HANA and BO can understand it, or even the mobility database can understand it, and then you present that information to the right people, to the right owners. So here, I mean, all like bits and pieces of information, right? It's like the NSA trying to scoop in on all the cell phones. It's just all like chatter, right, at that point of time. So you need like a framework of intelligence, how you wanna read that material. Kind of this framework will show you the life cycle of those things. How many vendors do I have? How much inventory do I have? When is the stuff getting from this place to this place? Where is the materials in short supply over there? So it's like your company dashboard. We're kind of running the information from here. How things are moved from one place to another place. So to do this thing, I mean, as I said, I mean, it helps to have a right degree. It helps to have good communication skills. It helps to have good IQ. But if you don't have those things, you are kind of on your own. You will struggle, but it's not that it's not doable. So the farther the back you are, the more time it's going to take you to catch up. So if you're physically fit, I don't need to train you how to run. You run, right? If you're not physically fit, then I need to teach you how to run. So that's kind of the deal here. So the question is how fast can I get a job? You can get a job in a week, you can get a job in a year, you can get a job in 5 years. It depends on how strong your legs are. I mean, how legs means how sharp your brain works. So, right? How fast you can absorb. Yes. Yeah. Good analytical capabilities, good memory, good retention power, a lot of time. Yes. A lot of times, the combination don't come easy. And people, like you said, I see a lot of people like you. They learn SAP and they said they have a job and they're committed to the job and they can't leave that job. Okay, they can't make that transition. I see that a lot. Our people have commitments, family commitments, kids commitments, and I have to take my daughter, my son, my husband, my aunt, and they just don't make the commitment, time commitment. Or if they have time commitment and they lack the IQ, they just cannot comprehend. There are a lot of issues. Lack of confidence, lot of time commitment, lot of IQ, could be everything. So a lot of things have to come together for you to be successful. Hmm? Everywhere, yeah. Yeah. There are testing jobs everywhere here, in every single thing. When you implement a project, you have to test it, and you have to. Everybody can test it. You can hire professional testers, or typically end users can test it. Give me like 10 more minutes, 15 more minutes. Yeah, typically consultants will test it, or you can hire, depending on the larger project, you can hire professional testers. The small project, just people on the project will test it.
Because I don't see much position in SAP testing. I see a lot of position other different.
They just hire, regular tester and put them on SAP. Sometimes. Yeah. If you're in oil and gas industry, this kind of a life cycle of an oil and gas. Companies do research on where you can find the oil. They kind of pick some, key locations: Eagle Ford, Bakken, the Gulf of Mexico, or Saudi Arabia, or your north of UK and Norway, and they start doing the testing. Yeah. And they send some sonars or these machines to map the geographical area, and then they will see where the hidden oil layers are trapped underneath these sediments and in these layers. They see some the patterns, geological patterns. They do a study. It looks like the MRI graphs, and based on that, they'll find that, hey, this is where the the hidden oil is. They see in the patterns, and they start doing that test drilling. And then they erect a drilling pad. They do clear up the land, and they put this huge mast, and they bring this a lot of pipes, inventory, drill bits, and they start drilling. There are many different techniques of drilling. There's a horizontal drilling, there's vertical drilling, and sometimes you can do shallow drilling. Depending on where you're drilling, it could be offshore, onshore. There are different techniques. And using something, the most commonly used technique is called fracking. You send the pipes vertically and horizontally, and you put some chargers in the pipes, you perforate the chargers, so the oil around those pipes can seep into those oil. And depending on the pressure, if the oil is rushing to high pressure, you don't need pumps. If the oil is at the low pressure, you probably need some pumps to push that oil out. And they put them in the trucks, or they have these oil pipelines. Put the oil in the things, send it to the refinery, refine the oil, and you get the aviation fluid, the diesel, the gas, tar, and other chemicals, and then you send them to the respective places, maybe a gas station, and then sell it. And once you're done with this, you have to reclaim the oil, make it eco-friendly, and then kind of move on to another field. Kind of a very high-level oil and gas cycle, and it's kind of a little bit different than auto industry where you bring in the parts from the vendors, you have a plant, and you assemble those things. You have a finished product, and you sell it to the dealership. You sell it. It's kind of a different cycle. So they will tailor SAP to kind of meet these business processes. So what is an auto cycle? What is a oil cycle? What is a chemical industry cycle? So they'll tailor the things to kind of match the business process. Okay, again, the complexity of oil and gas is that in the automotive thing, when I'm making a car, the company owns the car because they are putting in the inventory, they're putting in the money for the parts, they own the plant, they own the employees. In the oil and gas, like the things are not owned by one single person. That you lease the land from a royalty interest owner, and you lease the land from the federal government, and the government wants some percentage of the revenues right away at the sale of pumping the oil. So there are a lot of royalty interest owners, working interest owners, joint operators, and the different, obviously, in the automotive or mechanical engineering sector, you have products, right? You have Chevy or trucks and light trucks and SUVs, and here you have different types of crude, different viscosity, you have different grades of oil, different grades of gas, different grades of condensate, different types. It's a different product. So you have to accommodate for that, just like you accommodate for any other industry. What type of material, what type of things that you're storing. Inventory here is how much oil you have. Inventory in automotive industry is how many cars you have, right? Inventory in chemical is how many gallons of chemical you have. So SAP kind of, you has the ISO components has PRA, JVA, and your pipeline accounting, and also your downstream customer relationship management accounting. There are different modules, sub-modules within SAP that kind of helps you transform this information, present, or kind of make it seamless for the oil and gas industry. Okay. Let's look at some other processes as well. If you're interested in the FICO assets, in FICO we call it as a fixed assets. Fixed assets can be purchased from the vendor. So I'm in the oil and gas thing. I'm purchasing a large rig, pre-assembled rig, right? It's an asset. I'm paying maybe $100 million for that asset, and then I'm going to put it in the Gulf of Mexico. So that's an asset I'm procuring, and that's called a fixed asset. And once I start drilling oil from the fixed assets, I need to start depreciating that, and then depreciating expenses will go into a cost center. Or I could be leasing a drill rig, and then the lease expenses have to be expensed in my FICO. So that could be another way of doing it. Or the drill rig could be joint operated, means I own 50%, you own 50%, you share the cost 50%, I share the cost 50%, and then we share the revenue 50-50%. It could be jointly owned assets also. So all these different complications would be part of the the joint asset module also. Yep. And this is the HR life cycle. We also teach here HCM. HCM is one of the very interesting modules. So one of the competitors for SAP is PeopleSoft. So all of the HR business processes, when you hire an employee, how do I create my employee record? What kind of access does he need within my system? What is his role? What is his designation? What is his starting salary? How is he going to grow within the company? And when he started working, how does he do the time reporting? And how often do we pay monthly, weekly, yearly? What kind of benefits does he have? Does he get bonus pay? Does he get stock options? How much tax does he need to pay? What is his local jurisdiction? What is his state jurisdiction? What is his personal development? What are his goals? What are his career development path? and what is going to be happens when he retires. He's going to be living for another 20 years. How is he going to get his retiring benefits? So it's all the HR business processes. There's a payroll, there's a time writing, there is a records retention, also the personal development module within HR. Again, it's a 6-7 weeks module. Pretty, people mostly have worked 1 or 2 years in the HR module. They come and they want to be an operational people, or they want to be consultants. So they could, this is one of the modules that we offer here also. Another thing is the basic P2P process. So this is on the SD side. This is on the account receivable side. The customer sends the payment goes to the banks. It's called the lockbox file. The bank sends to the finance department. You take the lockbox file, you process it using PI, XI, TIPCO. You transform the information, and you post the accounting entries into the system. Okay. And also you have the typical MM, materials management cycle. Companies needs to order stuff, means they need Walmart, for example, as the stocks in the store are going down. So anything, inventory, cosmetics, there is a reorder point. So if it reaches 10 bottles of soap, you need to reorder those soaps from Procter & Gamble. And Procter & Gamble needs to receive a PO, and they will ship the goods and receive the goods behind the docks. Once the goods are received, Procter & Gamble is going to invoice you, and you have to pay the invoice. You shelf the stocks. Customer is going to come. They're going to pick it up, and the new customer pays those things. So this is kind of the cycle. On the MM side, you have MRP. Typically, you have supplier relationship management. And you also could have a manual requisitions. When someone says, I need to buy services, I need to buy computers, I need to buy office supplies. And you also have planned maintenance orders. You have a big plant, and there is a machine that's going to be down, and somebody has to go repair those machines. So you need to create orders to repair those machines. They go to the right vendors who can come and fix those things. If you're American Airlines, you have these large airplanes that may be down over the weekend or at night time. You need to create orders before they really go down. We call the planned maintenance orders. You send it to the contractors. Contractors will come, they repair those machines. You need to note down the parts they need. You need to note down the hours they need. You need to note down the equipment that really needs to apply, and you need to maintain those logs in the planned maintenance order. Requisitions go to the purchasing department. Purchasing department can create contracts, scheduling agreements, value contracts, outline agreements, or quantity contracts, or just informational records that are used to take these requisitions, convert them to POs, send it to the vendor. Vendor ships the goods, and you do receive the goods into your warehouse, and you receive invoice from the vendor, and they go out the door. So it's kind of the MM side of the flow. Let's see. Okay. And HANA, where does HANA fit into play, right? Where does HANA come into play? Where does HANA fit into play? HANA is an in-memory database. Just like any other database, Oracle, SQL, this is kind of in-memory database with some additional tools built around it. It has some data interface there. It has an XML layer. It has some MDX layers on top of those things, so it can receive and send data to the database. Bottom line is it's an in-memory database. It combines the OLAP and OLTP into one database, so you don't have to transform the data. We used to take the traditional row and column tables, summarize them, and I need a report for weekly, monthly, yearly, and I used to run a program, take all these records, summarize them, put them in another table, and run a report on top of another table, and there's a lot of transformation going back and forth. So now HANA kind of combines them into one database. You don't need to transform one table, do a total, do a group by, do a sum, and map it into, put it in another table. So you can all put that logic in single table because it has everything is put in memory. The logic HANA supports doing the huge summarization of these tables on the fly. So you don't have to do those transformation logic in between. But HANA is just a database. You need tools on top of the database. So the tools that you really need on top of that are these tools called BI and BO. So you can do BO on HANA, or you can do BI on HANA, or you can do HANA directly. So HANA directly, a lot of companies have not gone that way because it's called HANA Explorer. Most companies are trying to go BI and HANA, one route. HANA Explorer to HANA, that's another route. Or the traditional route is the BI, BO, and HANA. So most clouds are using that also. So there is no one solution fits all. So depending on the company, depending on the needs, you have to use the solution. So most common path that we say is you study all the three modules. It's called BI, BO, and HANA. And each one takes about 6 weeks. So BI takes about 6 weeks, BO takes about 6 weeks, and HANA takes about 2 to 3 weeks. And there is a lot of jobs in that space, BI, BO, and HANA. Or you can just do BI, or you can just do BO, or you can just do HANA, or you can combine all three. It's a newer module. It's a newer module. And that probably, let me see if we can stop this thing. That concludes the demo. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can go to solve.com and check out the information. There's a lot of videos on that website. Okay. End this thing here.